Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Astrology Plus. This is the podcast that's all about giving you the cosmic forecast with a different astrologer each week to provide a new and unique perspective to the energies we'll be dancing with. I'm your host, Olivia Edward, and joining me this week is astrologer Marie O'Neill. Marie, how are you?
I'm doing great, Olivia. Thank you for having me back again, or
I
back
am.
again, or back.
Marie, I was so thrilled to hear that I got to speak with you for this week specifically because, it's my phrase on this podcast. We have a lot going on, but for anyone that might be new to the podcast or new to Evolve Plus as a platform, do you want to give a brief background to yourself?
Oh, sure. Thank you. I'm, of course, Marie O'Neill. I am an astrologer trained as an evolutionary astrologer and an esoteric astrologer trained by Alan Oken and esoteric astrology and Stephen Forrest in evolutionary astrology. I am also a life coach where I work with people who have had trauma and they're ready to jumpstart that particular aspect of their life. So I use astrology, past life regression. I use, whatever means necessary to help people jumpstart their lives. So, and I can be found, of course, through padmalifecoaching.com. So that's a brief overview.
Very nice, very nice. And I'll be showing some more information on where to find all of that at the end of our podcast. But just so I make sure I remember to do this, this is for, and I can't believe I'm saying this, the week of November 16th. We're filming this July 1st.
Yeah.
But there's a lot. I think what separates also this week from a lot of the other times, which is I'm now realizing I think every other episode where I say we've got a lot going on, is that the energy, because I do, the energy for a lot of the transits this week might feel very deep and very intense because we've got some Scorpio energy. There's a new moon. Mercury is currently retrograde. So if this audio is breaking up on your end, or if
Oh,
technology
yeah.
is being wonky, or if the cars on the road seem weirder than usual, if miscommunications are in the air, you can put that in Mercury retrograde.
Yeah.
um, but Sagittarius season's also starting. There's so much stuff going on, but should we jump right into it, Marie?
Yeah, let's just go ahead and jump into it. There is some really good supportive energy this
Yeah.
week for this. So it shouldn't be, hopefully, it won't be too bad. But
Hmm.
yeah, what I'm going to do is break this down on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and start off. So the day, of course, is starting the 16th of November. The week kicks off with basically a complex emotional landscape. The moon is in Libra, the sign of balance. So your initial impulse is going to be to seek harmony and fairness. However, later in the day, this Libra moon gets pulled into a tense configuration called a T square. This is where it's going to oppose Chiron, which is the wounded healer in Aries. And both Chiron and the moon are going to square the expansive planet of Jupiter in Cancer. So, what does this mean? The T square is like a cosmic pressure cooker, and this one is highly emotional. The
Mhm.
Libra moon basically wants peace, but Chiron in Aries is poking at our deepest insecurities about, really, it's about our right to exist and take up space. Jupiter in Cancer then magnifies these feelings, especially those related to family, home, and our sense of emotional security. So the question of the day is, where have you been making yourself small?
Mhm.
Keep the peace, which is not a good thing. I mean, we tend to do this, but you have to ask yourself that question: where have you been making yourself small to keep the peace? And because it's a day where an old wound it could come up and it could feel tender, but its purpose is to show you where you have underestimated your own strengths. That's the purpose. There is a silver lining here. Underneath this terrain, we have a gorgeous grand water trine, which is flowing between the sun, which is in Scorpio, Jupiter, which is in Cancer, and Saturn in Pisces. This is a powerful current of intuition, emotional intelligence, and spiritual wisdom. So, even if the T square feels challenging, you want to trust your gut.
Mhm.
There's a deep well of emotional support available to you if you choose to tune in. And I say choose because we all have free will.
Mhm.
On Monday, the 17th, the emotional tone shifts dramatically. This is because the moon moves into intense, investigative Scorpio. Right away, it forms a challenging square to Pluto, which is the planet of power and transformation, which is now in Aquarius, where it's going to be for the next 19 years. What does this mean? This is basically a classic power struggle aspect. So you might feel it internally as a battle with your own obsessive thoughts or compulsions. So you have to pay attention to this. Or it could manifest externally as a tense negotiation with a boss, a partner, or an authoritative figure. Because remember, Pluto is all about power. And it wants to help you have your own authentic power. And in order to do that, sometimes it brings you the opposite, which is somebody else's power someone else trying to overpower you, and you
Mhm.
have to stand up for yourself. Here, there can be secrets that can come up and be close to the surface. The key is not to get drawn into compulsive or impulsive games. You want to acknowledge the power dynamics at play, but you don't want to give your own power away. There is helpful energy this day, of course. On the same day, we have Mercury, which is currently retrograde in Sagittarius. It forms a helpful sextile to Pluto. So your thoughts are and are going to help you. Your intuition is going to help you. The way you perceive things with Mercury and Pluto there is going to help you. This is a fantastic aspect for deep research and getting to the bottom of complex problems. So while your emotions might be in a tug of war, your mind is perfectly equipped to do some detective work and uncover the truth, which is something you always want to do.
Mhm.
On Tuesday, which is November 18th, this is a day that we have a major shift and potential surprises. First, the moon in Scorpio joins with Venus, the planet of love and values, which is also in Scorpio. This creates a deeply magnetic, intense, intimate, passionate vibe. So it's excellent for profound connection, but you want to watch for a tendency towards jealousy and possessiveness, which you can have with that Scorpio energy.
Mhm.
But the main event on this day is that Mercury, the planet of communication, being retrograde and looking like as though it's moving backwards, moves out of Sagittarius back into Scorpio.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah.
And as soon as it does that, it immediately opposes Uranus, the
Mhm.
planet of shocks and surprise. So what does all that mean? This can be volatile. This is a volatile electric combination. Think sudden news. Think technological breakthroughs. Make sure that you back up all your files. Anything that you have that is technological, you want to make sure that you have backups. Sometimes I actually will print out documents and save them so that just in case something happens. I remember one retrograde I had my hard drive crash. And yeah, so
Worst.
you want to make sure that you have saved, you've got backups there. Travel plans can go a wire. You can blurt out things that you didn't mean to say. It's basically an aspect of brilliant, sudden insights, but also verbal misfires. So be careful with what you say. It's so easy to blurt out something that you didn't intend to say, something that you were thinking, and once it's out, you can't take it back.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you can't. So the best way to handle this is to stay flexible, double check your communication, and try not to react impulsively to shocking information. Basically, you could have a revelation that could emerge that completely changes your perspective on a situation that you've been reviewing. So this is a powerful day. On Wednesday, the 19th, we get the Scorpio new moon. So today is basically the energetic peak of the week. We have the emotionally intensity builds with the moon in Scorpio, which reactivates the beautiful grand water trine with Jupiter and Saturn. Remember, Jupiter is in Cancer and Saturn is back in Pisces. So this is going to reactivate the grand trine that was activated initially by the sun when it went over this point, bringing a feeling of deep soulful connection. The new moon happens at 10:47 p.m. Pacific time, which is 1:47 a.m. Eastern time. The new moon is happening at 28 degrees of Scorpio. And this isn't just any old new moon, which it's incredibly potent and packed with complex energy. Why? What does this mean? This moon is a major reset button for the deepest, most hidden parts of our lives, our psyche, our shared resources, our intimate bonds. Here is the breakdown of its power. It's conjunct retrograde Mercury, meaning this new beginning is about revisiting, rethinking, and renewing an old story or mindset. And that's because Mercury is retrograde. So you're going back over something that has happened before, even though it's a new moon and it's a new beginning. So you're not launching something brand new externally at this time.
Mm-hmm.
It's in a beautiful trine with both Saturn and Neptune, which is in Pisces, lending our intentions a powerful blend of spiritual vision and grounded structure. So, what do you dream now? Whatever you dream, you can build because it is powerful. Saturn is going to give you that determination. It's going to give you that stick-to-itness, and Neptune is going to allow you to dream. It's also trine Jupiter in Cancer, which is infusing our new path with faith, emotional abundance, and luck. But, or should I say, and it's opposing Uranus, which is the great awakener. This means that the change you initiate might come in a surprising way because Uranus is the planet of lightning bolts and earthquakes, and you can't plan with Uranus. Actually, you can. You plan for the unexpected.
Mm-hmm.
So, because you really can't plan. So, you have to be willing to let go of control and embrace the unexpected. So, this new path requires a a radical break from the past. And finally, it sextiles Pluto in Aquarius, giving us the personal and collective power to make profound, lasting transformation. So, this is a perfect time to set intention around breaking addictions, healing deep psychological patterns, transforming your finances, and deepening your intimate relationships. So, can I say potent? This is extremely potent. And remember, with new moons, they last for several weeks, and until you get to the full moon. And so you've got a couple of weeks here of setting the intention, but you want to revisit. This is working with something, I think, energy that from the past, so that you can rejuvenate it. Then, yeah, you want to say something?
I'm looking at I'm just looking at all of the aspects that are under that one new moon, and potent's definitely the word for it. And I think especially what you were talking about with Uranus, about having to be willing to not be in control with however that energy is going to play out. I think that'll definitely especially be felt because we're talking about how much Scorpio energy there is, and Scorpio being a fixed sign, having Pluto in Aquarius, a fixed sign, definitely, a group of energies that like control, to keep things the same or keep things not able to change. So it definitely might, if resisted, definitely might be interesting to see how it plays out.
Oh, it can be. And remember, Scorpio is the sign of death. And, with it being opposed, Uranus is in Taurus, and it doesn't like to let go of anything. So there's that tug of war there of wanting to hold on, wanting to, needing to let go. And I tell you, Scorpio will win. And Uranus is going to really help that, even though it's in Taurus.
Yeah.
So, yeah, let go.
Let go. Release.
Exactly. So then on Thursday, the mood really does lighten considerably, because the moon shifts out of watery Scorpio and into fiery adventurous Sagittarius, and none too soon. The first thing it does, though, it conjoins Mars, the planet of action and drive. This means, really, you want to get ready for a burst of energy. After the deep introspection of the last few days, you feel an urge to get moving now. You want to explore, learn, and speak your truth. It is impulsive and optimistic. However, the moon and Mars will briefly square the nodes of the moon, which is going to create some tension between your desires for adventure, which is a Sagittarius, and your spiritual duties, which is the North Node in Pisces, or your practical responsibilities, which is the South Node in Virgo, because Virgo is the planet of, or is the sign of service. And it's also about responsibilities, because Virgo is the sign that comes up with all the systems. It's the sign that really can have it has the ability to figure out and know what needs to be done and actually do it. So it's definitely a sign of responsibilities. You might feel a bit pulled in different directions. So try to find a healthy outlet for all of that fiery energy.
And for anyone that may be slightly less familiar with the nodes of the moon, could you give like a brief explanation of what they represent, what they are?
Sure. Now the nodes, the southern node is the southern, they're not planets, they are points. And it's where the moon is going around the ecliptic. And so, you've got the southern point and the northern point. The southern point represents the past. It represents, for each of us, the gifts that we incarnated with, but also the shadow and what the karma that has ripened in this lifetime for us to work on. The northern node is the antidote to the southern node. So we're working towards the energy of the northern node. And the nodes move backwards through the sky. I mean, occasionally, if you're looking at them, I believe it's if you're looking at it using the sidereal system, it will move forward for a few hours and then move backwards again. But the nodes now are in Pisces and Virgo. And so if you look at where your nodes are at your birth, this is the evolution or the evolving energy that you're working with. So you're working with the past in Virgo. Where have you held on to being the servant? Where have you held on to being critical? Where have you held on to needing to be perfect? Moving towards it, the antidote to that is letting go and allowing the flow of energy, looking at the consciousness and allowing the universe to bring you the solutions, right? So it's a balance. It's a heck of a balance, but it takes about 18 point something years for the nodes to get back to their original position. And yeah, so that's a brief
Thank
overview
you.
of
Thank
the
you.
nodes.
And what you said about Thursday about how we have so many different because of the nodes and also because Moon's going to be with Mars and it's going to be in Sagittarius, which is a lot of fire energy. How would you, because you were talking about you may feel pulled in different ways, have impulses to do completely different things. How do you balance that kind of energy?
Well, number one, I always tell people to start off by grounding themselves, because and if you ground yourself and you get in touch with your heart, you'll know what right action is at any moment. You'll be able to feel when you need to make a move. You'll be able to feel what you need to do at any given time. So I always go back, especially when we're dealing with the moon and well, any planet for that matter, but in particular the moon, because it's related to our emotional body.
Yeah.
And so paying attention to how you feel, and and analyzing that, and not jumping just because you feel something, but you want to, if you can, get underneath the feeling to see what the cause of it is and to see what right action is. That is always going to help you, because with the northern node, a lot of times it is dormant within us because it's new energy that we have to work with. We're programmed to work with that southern node because we've been there before and we know that energy really well. So if you look at the southern node and where it is, and look at, okay, so this is what I'm feeling, and what I'm feeling is the southern node. The northern node is asking me to do XYZ. It's asking me to let go. It's asking me to trust the divine. What can I do? What small thing can I do to trust the divine in this particular situation, whatever comes up?
Absolutely.
And that way, because remember what you, in this incarnation, when we exit the incarnation, you want to have integrated the northern node energy with the southern node energy, and you want to have worked on the shadow
Right.
of that southern node. So
Awesome. Awesome. And then is there anything else? I know that's Thursday. Is there anything else Friday or into Saturday of the weekend that we should know about?
yeah. So on Friday, the theme of Sudden Breakthrough continues as the sun, in its final degrees of Scorpio, opposes Uranus in Taurus. This is the culmination of the energy that we felt on Tuesday and Wednesday. It's a final revelation or a push for freedom that is likely. Something might finally break open. Then the big news of the day is that the sun leaves Scorpio and enters optimistic, expansive Sagittarius. And what does this mean? So basically, you can almost hear a collective sigh of relief. The energy shifts into the intense, private depth of Scorpio. It shifts from that to the hopeful, adventurous, and truth seeking horizons of Sagittarius. It's like throwing open the windows after a deep emotional house cleaning. The focus moves from what's hidden to what's possible. Our guiding light becomes Jupiter, the planet of faith and expansion. And this is because Jupiter is the ruler of Sagittarius. So wherever the sun is, whatever sign it is, you need to go to the ruling planet of that sign, because the sun has to answer to that energy.
Right.
Then on Saturday, the end of the week, the weekend basically starts with the Sagittarius moon squaring Neptune in Pisces. This can bring a bit of confusion, idealism, or a feeling of deep ungroundedness. So your big optimistic plans might hit a foggy patch. Don't make concrete decisions this morning. Just allow yourself to dream. Later on in the day, the moon shifts into practical earthy Capricorn, which will ground us for the rest of the weekend. The focus turns from what do I believe to how do I build it. Finally, the new Sagittarius sun forms a supportive sextile to Pluto in Aquarius. This is a wonderfully empowering aspect in the week on. Our newfound optimism and vision, which is the sun in Sagittarius, are given a boost, a real transformative power, Pluto. It's a perfect energy for making long-term plans that align with your highest beliefs and has the potential to create meaningful change, not just for you, but for our collective. So, to sum it up, this week is a journey from the depths to the heights. We're asked to do the deep emotional work early in the week, release what's no longer serving us at the powerful new moon. Even though it's a new moon, you would think that we're starting anew, but we're still being asked to release because of the retrograde aspects. And then step into a lighter, more hopeful chapter as the sun enters Sagittarius. It's all about radical renewal. Okay.
Radical renewal. Thank you so much. That was perfect. And I love the radical renewal. And I especially think that it'll be helpful this new moon, even though there's a lot going on, as you said. I mean, we have all those aspects that's going on.
Yeah.
I think that because new moons are often so focused on new initiations, planting the seeds, looking forward, looking ahead, new beginnings, I think that some reflection, though, is also very helpful when trying to do that, when looking towards what we learned so we can carry that on to that sort of new
Mhm.
beginnings, new future for what we're trying to initiate. So, in some ways, even though it is really intense, I think that some reflecting can even help, even though we're not trying to initiate anything right at this moment, for when we do initiate it, because
Yeah.
we have that extra layer of reflecting, looking back, remembering, maybe doing some cleaning and releasing. It may help to initiate whatever we're trying to initiate, whether it's a project or trying to manifest something more specific for ourselves as a collective. I think can definitely help. That's a sort of launch when we do eventually do that.
Mhm. Absolutely. And man, that Mercury retrograde, I always tell people, don't start anything new when it's
Mhm. Yep.
Mercury retrograde.
Yep, yep. And with what you were just saying, with how the week sort of starts more reflective and then goes into releasing, how does the pacing of the week feel? I know we have a lot of fixed energy and there's some water. Does it feel like it's going by super quickly, or does it kind of feel like we're gonna feel all the ebbs and flows of the energy this week?
I actually think we're going to feel the ebbs and flow of this
Yeah.
one. And one thing about emotions, what is it they say about the weather? If you want to know the weather, you would look outside and see what the weather is because it changes all the time. That's the way our emotions are going to be this week.
Absolutely.
I mean, think about it. Every 2.5 days.
The moon's changing signs, so it's good. It's honestly, I do think it's why when every astrologer, many astrologers, especially, I heard it a lot when I was just starting to learn astrology. And I think that a lot of other astrologers suggest just look at the moon, look at what it moves the most. It's going to impact us the most personally, especially because it rules over the emotions. It's
Mhm.
so super helpful, and it was very helpful for me as well, because just knowing what sign it's in, themes that may come up, just sort of that undercurrent of emotion that you might be feeling throughout your day, regardless of what's going on in your life. So helpful, especially just for not only tracking my own energy, but also just learning about, oh, okay, so when the moon's in Virgo, it affects me like this, but my friend who I know has her moon in whatever other sign, it affects her like that. I just think it's definitely very, very helpful.
Oh, it is. And then, you can look at when I'm working with clients, I will tell them to track your moon on a daily basis,
Mhm,
track it through the houses
mhm.
because it tells you what's up in particular arenas of your
Yeah,
life. And it,
absolutely.
it never fails.
And speaking of that new moon in Scorpio, do you have any rituals or any practices, habits that you would suggest around this time on this day to help further embrace the energy if anyone's looking to?
Because this is a new moon in Scorpio,
Mhm,
I would still I of course want to go to Mother Earth
mhm.
because Pluto, of course, is the lord of the underworld, the lord of Hades. And Pluto, of course, is the modern ruler, where Mars is the traditional ruler.
Yeah.
I say go to Mother Earth and to dig deep because Pluto is in the underworld and this is Scorpio, and have the courage to maybe be outside at night
Mhm.
and sit on the ground
Yeah.
and talk to the moon about what is going on with you, what it is you want for yourself, and what it is you would like to release. As we know, with the law of attraction, what we get is not necessarily what we say. We get what's going on in our subconscious, what's going on inside. So the affirmations, they work best when we have released what no longer serves us.
Mhm.
We have to know what we want though.
Yeah.
And so with this new moon, it's still a good time to know what you actually want in your life and be prepared to release what no longer serves you so that you can get what you want.
Right.
Sometimes we want things, but we have to be willing to let go of what is hindering us from getting what it is we want. So
Mhm.
going outside at night, being with the moon, even if you're not able to sit on the ground, have your feet on the ground. I also do rituals with Pluto where
Mhm.
I love doing meditations, going to visit Pluto. I take Mercury with me because Mercury is the only planet that can go into the underworld and,
Mhm.
and, and
True.
come back out unscathed.
Yeah.
So, so having, because we really do need to get in touch with the deepest parts of us that so that we can, because we want to have our own authentic power. And
Of
what does
course.
authentic power look like? To
Mhm.
me, it's total freedom with no fear.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm thinking back Now, before I even ask you this, I want to know that I am thinking back of all the aspects that we have this week. So I'm going to hear myself as well when I ask you this next question. If you had to choose 3 words to describe all of it, or at least any of the transits whatsoever, it can be a phrase, it can be 3 words, it can be for one of the, it can be anything at all. Which or what would
Mhm.
you choose for the words of this week with everything that we have going on?
Wow.
It's an
I would
insane question.
say trust your instincts,
Mhm,
call to your inner wisdom, call to that,
mhm.
and be willing to move through fear.
That I think that last one's really, really powerful, especially because I think that that's fear is something that is so heavily associated with Pluto, especially because it's the transformation, life and death.
Mhm.
But with everything that, with all the Plutonian aspects we have going on this week, it's asking us to move through that to get to the other side of it. So I think that's really powerful.
Yeah, it is. And so many times I hear people saying they want to go above it. But no, to actually rid yourself of a particular fear, you have to go through
Go
it.
through it. Yeah.
And that means you have to feel it. You got to see it for what it is. You got to look at it. Because
Mhm.
once you look at a fear head on, it dissipates.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, this is an intense week to say the least. I'm going to do a super quick rundown of all the lovely astrological information that you've given us. Marie, if I miss anything, if you want to add anything in, feel free to just jump right in.
All right.
But here is this week in a nutshell. So, as Marie said, this week is going to be a journey from the depths to the heights. In the beginning of the week, we're asked to do some deep emotional work. Then, with the new moon, we're asked to release what doesn't serve us, and while also still reflecting. And then we are asked towards the end of the week to step into a lighter, more hopeful chapter as the sun enters Sagittarius. Happy birthday to all the Sagittarians out there. And it's all about radical renewal. I really like that phrase as well. But starting off on November 16th, on Sunday, we're going to kick off with a complex emotional landscape because we have the moon in Libra, which is all about balance.
Mhm.
It has an impulse to seek harmony and fairness. But this Libra moon is going to join a tense aspect where it will oppose Chiron, asteroid known as the Wounded Healer, which will be in Aries, and it'll be squaring the expansive planet of Jupiter in Cancer, which means it's a highly emotional cosmic pressure cooker. The moon wants peace. Chiron wants to poke at our deepest insecurity that has to do with our identity, our rights to just exist and take up space. And Jupiter is going to magnify those feelings even more. So, if especially if it relates to the home life, family, any sort of emotional security, also say today is the day to ask yourself, where have you been making yourself feel small to keep the peace? Sort of that people pleasing tendencies. This is a day where an old wound may come up and feel very tender, but its purpose is to show you where you've underestimated your own strength. But there's also going to be some pretty supportive energy here because we have what is called a grand water trine, as Marie mentioned, between the sun in Scorpio, Jupiter in Cancer, and Saturn in Pisces, all water signs. And this is a powerful current of intuition, spiritual wisdom, and emotional intelligence. So even if this day feels challenging, make sure to trust your gut because a lot of emotional support is available to you if you choose to tune into it. Then on November 17th, on Monday, the emotional tone shifts. The moon will enter Scorpio, and this will be very deep, very, again, emotional, intuitive, and it'll form a challenging aspect, a square to Pluto in Aquarius. This is a classic power struggle of energy. So it might feel internally as a battle with your own obsessive thoughts or compulsions. Pay attention to whatever that is. Or it could manifest externally as a tense negotiation with a boss, a partner, any sort of authority. Pluto is about authority and power and transformation. So it's asking you to find your authentic power. Secrets can come up on this day. So try not to get into any impulsive games. Acknowledge whatever power dynamics there are, but do not give any of your own power away. And also on this day, Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius is going to sextile a very sort of opportunistic aspect to Pluto. So your thoughts can help you along with your intuition on this day, even though you may feel like you're in an emotional tug of war. Your mind is still stable, grounded, and ready to uncover the truth and do some sort of detective work, which is really helpful. And then on Tuesday, November 18th, there is a major shift and some potential surprises because we're going to have Mercury retrograde enter Scorpio, even more Scorpio energy. So immediately that's going to oppose Uranus, which is the planet of shocks and surprise. This can feel very volatile. It's an electric combo of energy. Think sudden news, technological breakthroughs. Make sure you back up all your files, double check, triple check all your travel plans. You might accidentally blurt things out. Again, happens to all of us, but just try and double check your communication. Don't react compulsively to shocking information. You might have a revelation on this day that could change your sort of view on a situation, especially on something that you might have been reviewing. Just try and stay flexible and watch out for any verbal misfires. Then the moon in Scorpio is going to join with Venus in Scorpio, I believe, and that is going to be an intense, deep vibe. It's great for profound connection, but watch out for possessiveness and jealousy. Then on Wednesday, November 19th, we have that big Scorpio new moon, and this is the energetic peak of the week. So emotional intensity builds with this moon in Scorpio, and it's going to reactivate all those other planets that are in water signs. So this is a deep, soulful connection, and it's incredibly potent and packed with a lot of energy. And it's going to be a major reset button for the deepest, most hidden parts of our lives. So our psyche, our shared resources, our intimate connections or relationships. And that's because it's making a lot of aspects. It's conjoined Mercury in retrograde, which basically means it's about revisiting, rethinking, and renewing. Even though it's a new moon, we're looking back and we're reflecting because Mercury is currently retrograde. So before we focus on launching, right now we're going to focus on reviewing and making room and releasing what we don't need. It's also making a positive, supportive aspect, trining Saturn and Neptune and Pisces, which means our intentions have a powerful blend of spiritual vision and grounded structure. So whatever you can dream, you can build. Saturn will give you the determination, and Neptune will allow you to dream. Then it's also going to trine Jupiter in Cancer, which will expand all that good stuff, faith, emotional abundance, and good luck. But it is going to oppose Uranus, the great awakener, that planet of shocks and surprises. So the change that you might want to make or initiate may happen or come up in a surprising way. Remember, this is also the planet of earthquakes and lightning. So it's sort of that phrase where it's with Uranus, expect the unexpected and then expect not to expect it. Just be willing to let go of control here and embrace the unexpected. And then it's also going to form a sextile to Pluto in Aquarius, which will at least give us the power to create lasting transformation. So it's a great time to set intentions around healing deep psychological patterns or healing addictions, deepening relationships, transforming a financial situation. Great for setting up long-term things. That's all on one day. That's all the new moon. So ground yourself and let yourself feel all of that, but that's a lot of energy for one day, even just a week. And then on Thursday, November 20th, the mood will lighten considerably because the moon's going to enter Sagittarius. This is fiery and adventurous energy. That moon will conjunct Mars, the planet of action and drive. You're going to want to get ready to move. You're going to feel a burst of energy after all that deep introspection. You're going to want to speak truth and explore and learn. But remember, this optimistic and impulsive energy will briefly square the nodes of the moon, which might create some tension between your spiritual duties, your responsibilities, and your need for adventure. So you may feel sort of pulled in different directions. Try and find an outlet for all these different energies that you're feeling. Ground yourself, pay attention to how you feel. Don't sort of jump into doing something random. Don't be impulsive on this day. Think about what you're feeling before you take action. And then on Friday, November 21st, the theme of sudden breakthrough continues because the sun in Scorpio is going to oppose Uranus and Taurus. This is a culmination of energy you might have felt on Tuesday and Wednesday. It's a push for freedom, a final revelation, or something that might finally break open. And then the sun will officially enter Sagittarius. Again, happy birthday to all the Sagittarians out there. This is expansive and optimistic energy. You may feel a collective or personal sigh of relief. We're moving from that deep private depth of Scorpio into a hopeful, adventurous, and truth-seeking energy. It's like throwing open the windows after a deep emotional housekeeping. So we're going to move from looking at what's hidden to what's possible. It's great for, looking at religions or philosophy, travel, faith, and expansion, all themes of Jupiter. And then on November 22nd into the weekend on Saturday, we have the Sagittarius moon squaring Neptune and Pisces. This can bring some fogginess, idealism, or confusion. You may feel a little bit ungrounded, but big optimistic plans might feel a little bit foggy. So don't make concrete decisions. Allow yourself to dream. Don't expect yourself to feel to have a lot of clarity on this day. The moon will enter Capricorn later, and that will give us that grounded feeling for the rest of the weekend to look at, what I want to focus on, how do I build it. And then the sun in Sagittarius is going to form a supportive sextile to Pluto in Aquarius. And this is all about empowering the rest of the week. It's a newfound optimism, a vision that sort of gives you a boost, a transformative power from Pluto that will make it a great time to make those long-term plans, especially ones that align with your highest belief and give you the potential to make meaningful change, whether, regardless of if it's for the collective or for you personally. That's all this week. That is all 1 week. It's this week. Brie, do you want to add anything else?
Oh no. Oh no.
Thank goodness, because I don't know what more we can possibly be feeling. Again, I think
No.
it's especially because Scorpio is very, very deep. So it's already going to feel, it can feel overwhelming to people that may not have a lot of that energy in their natal chart or may not be used to experiencing a lot of that energy. I think what you mentioned, Marie, before, just making sure you stay grounded throughout all of it will definitely be a big help.
Oh, it sure will,
Yeah.
because 2025 is such a huge year
Hmm.
because we shift really into air and fire with
Yeah.
with these outer planets. And so everything is just on steroids.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But I am so happy and so thrilled I got to speak about this week with you.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for that. Again, where can people find you on social media, on YouTube, on a website,
Well,
if you have anything
sure.
coming up? Yeah.
Sure. On YouTube, I have a YouTube channel which is Padma Life Coaching. So you can find me there. I have weekly videos where I answer questions from viewers who send questions to me, life coaching questions, astrology questions. I give my view, and I also talk about various other life renewal topics on there. So you can find me on YouTube. You can also find me on Substack. I do a deeper dive on Substack with the articles about the Ask Coach Marie videos, where I've taken a topic that I've talked about and I do a deeper dive on with those topics. So you can find me on Substack with the Padma Life Coaching. You can always check out my website, where you can see what types of services I offer on astrology, life coaching, and past life regression, because I also do past life regression. I do virtual healing retreats twice a year, and I put those up on my website. I just finished one on finding your flow, where I help people figure out what their power animal is, and we talk about how to work with nature, talking about the directions. I usually, I just believe, because we are so into being technological, being online, it's important to learn how to work with nature, how
Mhm.
to get our answers from nature. So this is one of the reasons that I do the virtual healing retreat. So yeah, that's
Awesome.
what's going on.
Well, again, thank you so much for joining me for this week. There's a lot going on, but I love discussing every single aspect in transit with you. And thank you guys so much for watching. Let us know how that new moon is for you and let me know how your week is. And I'll see you guys next time.
All right.
Bye.
Bye bye.